is worse, Dolores Umbridge or Lord Voldemort? Hey, brother! It's one of the oldest and funnest arguments in Harry Potter. Who is the real worst villain? Because on the one hand, you've got a ruthless dictator who will stop at nothing to seize power, attack children, enforce a pure blood agenda, and control every aspect of your life. And on the other hand, you've got Voldemort, a man many would describe as just a pink frilly cat in snake's clothing anyway, so why am I even making this video? No, obviously Voldemort is quite bad himself, well, with, the mass muggle killings, the megalomania, the corruption of one's soul, and traveling beyond regular evil, turning snakes who were formerly women back into a human form but dressed in the skin of a different dead woman to murder a teenager. But don't forget, Umbridge won't let you gather in groups of 4 or more, so I think you see what I mean. It's a pretty tight race. Yes, Voldemort filled a lake with Inferi, but Umbridge won't let you read The Quibbler. It could go either way. It could go either way. And today, we are going to settle it. Who's worse, Umbridge or Voldemort? What's crazy to me about this question is that it's even a question at all. Voldemort is literally the main antagonist of the series. He makes appearances in 6 out of the 7 books, is trying to become immortal, take over the world, and instill a new Dark Order, and yet people will still argue for Umbridge, a character who's not even introduced until book 5, and who really only makes a slight appearance in book 6 before then returning as a mini-boss in Deathly Hallows. And yet, the question still exists in the minds of many fans. Who is worse? And there's a bunch of things at play here. For one, while Voldemort does appear in more books and is the main villain, he usually only makes his appearances towards the end of the book, in spring. I mean, why attack in winter? It's just too cold out. Spring is nice. It's raining. That's good villain weather. Lovely time to kill your teenage nemesis. But in Order of the Phoenix, Umbridge's presence is felt on almost every page, during every season of the year, starting in the summer, before we've even met her, when she sends the Dementors to go attack Harry and Dudley. And from there, we get a lot of page time with her, where she painstakingly removes every ounce of joy from Hogwarts and Harry's life, a feat she accomplishes even more infuriatingly by manipulating systems that are supposed to be in place for the protection of wizards, aka the law. And therefore, despite obviously being pure evil, she manages to operate completely above board, and even with the approval of the wizarding government, the Ministry of Magic.
What Cornelius doesn't know won't hurt him.
And I think that ends up feeling way more relatable to us, the readers, because chances are you don't personally have a magical dark lord in your life who is literal evil incarnate. But you probably have encountered someone like Umbridge before, whose atrocities throughout the books have almost nothing to do with magic. Instead, she relies on the abuse of her legal authority, propaganda, censorship, and the normalization of cruelty. And if she ever encounters any snares, she just writes new laws to favor her own agenda. And that's what makes her so scary and hated by the readers. Voldemort is openly evil, and he calls himself the Dark Lord. Of course he's breaking the rules. Umbridge does not do that. She does not claim to be evil. Just the opposite. She positions herself as a servant of the people, working for the betterment of the wizarding world. And rather than breaking the rules, she changes them. Now, granted, she is perfectly okay with breaking the rules too, but she is much more secretive about that, like sending the Dementors to attack Harry, or rationalizing the use of the Cruciatus Curse on Harry. But I'll tell you what, guys, if Umbridge wants to get all legal about it, we can do that too. Because this isn't just about body count. It's about the type of evil that actually touches everyday life. And let's go ahead and start with the Dementor attacks over the summer, or as I like to call it, the state-sanctioned attempted murder of minors. Council? Now, Your Honor, if it pleases the court, I'd just like to submit to the jury that Miss Dolores Jane Umbridge did in fact commit what us plain folks might call attempted murder, deploying state-controlled dark entities against a minor, all in the interest of silencing a little political dissent. AKA tried to have a child's soul eaten to silence what she's calling lies. I mean, on a personal level, it makes you hate Umbridge, but it resonates so hard because in the back of the brain, it also threatens your personal safety. Like, I mean, Dementors aren't real. You can't really get your soul sucked out, but the government sending armed faceless forces into civilian areas to quash what they consider political threat, in this case, the truth, that's pretty scary because, like, what would you do? Umbridge's next act of evil is when she forces Harry to write lines with her quill, scarring the back of his hand by making him write with his own blood, or as I like to call it, the state-sanctioned torture of a minor. Counsel, Your Honor, I would respectfully submit that rarely have I encountered conduct so nefarious. I mean, the evidence suggests that Miss Umbridge intentionally subjected a minor to torture, coerced self-mutilation by cursed implement, all under institutional authority and for purposes of punishment and ideological suppression. I mean, my word, the boy still has the scars, Your Honor. I mean, Voldemort at least had the courtesy to attack Harry himself and, give him a cool lightning bolt shaped scar, right? Nope, yep, that's probably one of the worst things I've ever said. And
I make Dedrick jokes every week, so.
No!
But this is obviously awful. Like, it's a person you should be able to trust. In this case, your teacher is instead using her power to make you hurt yourself. And it's sort of an odd one where she clearly crosses the line. And it does feel like if Harry had just spoken up to McGonagall or Dumbledore,
Look at me!
they would have had easy grounds to dismiss her. Dumbledore does not take harming his students lightly, especially Harry. And if Harry had spoken up, then maybe they could have fired her before she was able to gobble up, too much power for herself. But instead, Harry lets his pride and frustration with Dumbledore get in the way. But I guess it just goes to show you that sometimes you do need to speak up. Next up, she starts in with her decrees, and this is where it starts getting worse because she starts being less of an individual villain to Harry and more of a full-on, institutional villain.
I will have order.
And her first victim is the freedom of assembly, where she bans the meeting of more than 3 people at a time without her permission. And it's presented as a safety rule, but it's obviously like a blanket prohibition because there's no situationalness to it. It's not like you need permission to form a potentially dangerous club. It applies to literally everything from gobstones to Quidditch to its actual intended target, anti-ministry defense clubs. Counsel? Dolores Umbridge enacted an authoritarian emergency decree suppressing the right of assembly, imposing collective punishment and prior restraint on association for the purpose of preventing organized political dissent within a captive civilian population. That's Hogwarts, Your Honor. And we're starting to cross wires a little here because this is when Umbridge starts to get pretty Voldemort. Because if you'll recall this line from Dumbledore, have you any idea how much tyrants fear the people they oppress? All of them realize that one day, amongst their many victims, there is sure to be one who rises against them and strikes back. Now, Dumbledore's talking about Voldemort, but Umbridge is the same. She knows she's quite vulnerable, especially to a coordinated effort, so she makes it illegal at all to form a group because one-on-one, she can handle the students, but a group effort is a problem. But y'all, we're gonna take a quick pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Have you ever looked at other couples and think wow, they really seem to have this whole relationship thing figured out? Meanwhile, you're over here Googling is it normal to be just a tiny bit ignored by someone you love very much? I didn't write this, by the way. But the truth is, we want a partnership so we have someone to share life's challenges with, but we tend to forget that those challenges can be hard. Which just brings the simple reality that the partnerships can at also times be hard. And that is where therapy can become so important because it's the support system for your support system. Think of it like this. It's like trying to put together IKEA furniture, but neither of you has the manual, and instead of building a coffee table, what you've built is resentment. Actually, you don't even need to be building the furniture, you just need to go to IKEA together. At all. To be 20. But at times, all you need is someone who can listen and provide unbiased feedback and maybe has the instructions. So sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/super. That's betterhelp.com/super. Link is in the description down below. I think after this much talking about Umbridge, maybe we could all use some therapy, you know? But she's not done, because next up, she starts intercepting mail. And in her case, this also includes harming animals, or as, my lawyer put it, unlawful surveillance, interception of communications, and animal cruelty. Forgive me, I don't wish to overstate the matter, but it does appear the accused engaged in what I might politely describe as unlawful surveillance, intercepting private correspondence, injuring a perfectly innocent owl, all seemingly intended to suppress communication, intimidate a minor, and keep a rather tight grip, if I do say so myself, on the flow of information in and out of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You know, like when you go to a website and they're like, hey, can we use our cookies to collect your information? And you just click no. Well, this would be like if they didn't ask and then just did take it and then also broke your dog's leg.
I was getting paid no matter what, so I just decided to do whatever I wanted.
And that was?
Kick dogs in the face and body.
Now, as far as Harry is concerned, this is all part of the attempt by Umbridge to capture Sirius, but really, it's also a reflection of her own escalated power, because the more poorly she treats the school population, the more likely it is that someone would, write home about it. But now, if they do, that letter will never make it, and they signed their name to it, so she can target them down, no problem. And if you get punished for something like that, you might start censoring yourself, which is, of course, what she actually wants. And again, it resonates so hard because there is a part of you that knows that if you lost a way to communicate, if you lost the ability to talk freely, then maybe your ability to think freely would become threatened too. Which again, is what Umbridge is going for. She wants to normalize this feeling of control.
I will have order.
But, fortunately, Harry isn't buying it. He finds a different way to communicate via the Quibbler, which then, of course, leads to Umbridge's next decree, which prohibits the possession or reading of the Quibbler. Which sounds funny because we know the Quibbler prints a bunch of really weird stories and stuff, but it's not a joke. It is so much way worse than that. She already has attacked freedom of assembly, but now she's going after freedom of press, and that it should be a huge red flag, which I don't think anyone missed. No one's reading that well, I guess that's fair, she could. Of course, the wizarding world is already pretty corrupt in this area. At this point in the story, the ministry is already leaning on the Daily Prophet to print what they want, which is to tell the public lies. And now they're prohibiting reading a magazine that publishes anything opposite their own viewpoint, making sure that they control public opinion with no dissent or opposing views available.
It's incontrovertible.
He's not back.
Your Honor, with all due respect, I'm running low on patience and I'm running out of pages here, but it does appear the accused banned an independent publication, the Quibbler, suppressing press freedom through censorship and retaliatory enforcement just to keep dissent quiet and information government approved. And again, for the record, this is a high school, Your Honor, not a dictatorship. Thank you, counsel, that's enough. Nobody wants to be lied to, and what's so infuriating here is that Harry is just trying to tell the truth.
But I am the chosen one. Okay, sorry.
And it's scary, and personally really strikes home for me when I read this section of the book. I grew up with my dad was a news anchor, and I majored in mass communication because, having free press is wildly important to any society because its role is to safeguard the public by investigating corruption and informing the citizenry, meaning that its job is just, to keep the government honest. But if the government could control the press like they are in Harry Potter, or could shut down publications or shows or websites they don't like, they'd be free to lie to you as much as they want, and you'd have no way of knowing from other trusted sources. Honestly, I could probably just keep dragging Umbridge all day. She has so many different crimes, but the script is already getting a little bit long. But it's like I said at the beginning, it's just fascinating to me that Umbridge and Voldemort are often in the same conversation, but really both are truly vile. The difference is that Umbridge is the kind of evil that could actually affect you here in the real world, which in many ways makes her way scarier than a fictional Dark Lord. That said, for in universal arguments, he's pretty evil too. I mean, council? Oh, Lord, not again. Oh, let me find my notes. All right, here we go. Tom Riddle, also known as Lord Voldemort, or as folks tend to say, you-know-who, appears to have orchestrated a genocidal campaign towards muggle-born witches and wizards, motivated by racial supremacy, crimes against humanity, murder, torture, unlawful imprisonment. He initiated an all-magical insurrection. He's conducted war crimes across 2 separate wizarded wars he started, Your Honor, and repeated murders of Horcruxes, they call them, Your Honor. There was terrorism, intimidation, assassination. I could take Your Honor, the man's got a leg full of bodies to his name. You know what? I think they're both so evil. I'm not sure we really got to the bottom of anything, but at least hopefully we have a better understanding as to why Umbridge gets under our skin because of the threat recognition she activates in our real world fears. But I would love to hear from you. Who do you think is more evil in the towel section down below? I think I'll also post a poll over on our community tab if you want to go vote over there. But guys, thanks as always for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more Harry Potter action, you can check out this video where we talk about why Cornelius Fudge is the worst. But otherwise, until next time, Ben, remember, ducks go in cups. Yay!
It looks like I'm in the cup.